When was the last time you felt like trash because of the shift you work? This is something day shift workers rarely understand the feeling of, and it's also one of the reasons night shift has a higher rate of depression. It's late afternoon on a Friday, and your best friend calls to see if you can come over to their house for a gathering tonight with everybody else, and you say, "Sorry, I have to work," but you really want to go. You consider calling off for the night, but let's face it, nothing's getting any cheaper, and you need the money, so you go to work. The following week, again it happens. The phone call comes, but you haven't become rich over the previous week, and you end up going to work. The next week is different though. You have the night off, and now it's you calling your friends, only tonight's not good for them because they have a trip set up to go out of town with two more of your friends.
All right, everyone in.
Got the paddles?
Unfortunately, it would be a huge hassle just to add you in, and you don't want to burden anybody. So you say, "Okay, next time," and you hang up. Now, what just happened? How come they didn't call you earlier in the week to tell you the plans were being made? Because you've worked the past 2 Fridays and will probably be working this one too. At least that's what they think. And as time goes by, you get fewer and fewer of these phone calls, and your friends become people that you used to hang out with. Now, you parents out there have it so much more difficult because when your night off finally comes around and matches your friends, you also have to find a babysitter, or you'll be the one bringing the baby to the bowling alley. It's not impossible, I've done it myself, but it puts a realistic strain on the fun. The more common issue for parents that work night shift are the noon recitals and the plays at school, the parent-teacher conferences, and the after-school activities. Every time some kind of milestone happens with your kids, you need to either function on 2 hours of sleep, which really only puts you about 25% present at your child's event, or schedule not one night off, but 2 nights off, because when you work nights, it doesn't just affect one night. So if you take the night before off and you go and it takes all day, there's no time to sleep before your next shift. So to be proper, you need to take 2 nights off. Friends are one thing, but missing family time touches you differently. Holidays, birthdays, and other events, you're either late, have to leave early, you can't have the after dinner drinks with everybody, or you miss it entirely because you work nights. Believing you're a bad friend is much different than believing you're a bad parent. Nothing makes up for having to miss tucking your child in every night. Single parents have it worse depending on what family and friends you have. Having to drop off your child somewhere at night, even with picking them up from school, you feel like you have visitation every night. If you're lucky, you get to have dinner with them, but you still have to drop them off so that you can go to work. And if you're one who does not have that kind of a family connection, you have to find an overnight sitter, which is almost non-existent, and pay a large portion of your check to them, even though just in order to have the ability to go to work. So that way you can make money and repeat the process. Child programs are called daycare for a reason. No consideration for those who work nights. Now, admittedly, it's been a long time since my children were small, so perhaps there's been an increase in availability. I really don't know, but I would still hate to be the one to have to pay what they're probably charging right now. The constant missing out, as well as the stress added being a parent, takes a heavy toll on your mental health. The drifting away from relationships with your friends and family leaves you with a feeling of loneliness, and you feel like you're missing out on your kids' lives. These issues, on top of the day-to-day stress of society that we live in right now, and the damage working nights does to you biologically, is there any question why we have such an increased risk of depression? Now, the question is, what can we do about it? An unfortunate truth is that we can't make these things fully go away. These are the nature of the beast that is night shift, but we can make some improvements. The first thing has to be making all of these nuances commonly known. They're not. People don't think about night shift as what you miss. Employers need to recognize how these issues impact their staff. When hiring or during orientation, these things should be identified to the new hire. Someone that has never worked night shift before will most likely never have thought about these issues. Friends and family need to know that these issues will come about, and that it's not that you don't want to attend A, B, and C, but occasionally you will have no choice. They need to be understanding, and they need to not try to do the guilt trip thing. Even if they're joking, there's little doubt that you already feel guilty enough on your own.
He's working hard today.
You will have those that say, you chose this shift. You should have thought about that. Well, unfortunately, you can't think about everything. While for some of us that is true, but not for everyone. Not everyone chose the shift that they're working. A lot of times they have a hard time filling night shift, so they throw the new hires in there. Some of us, we do choose it, but we also understand, and we need the loved ones and our family and our friends to understand what we're going through and maybe even have a little compromise with us. When you do have a night off, plan for it. Try not to sacrifice too much of your sleep because that is very important, but schedule the day out to do what you have to do and then spend time with the people that you want. Let them know well in advance. Call them a week before when you have your schedule. Say, I have next Saturday off, let's do something. It's the best way to keep those friendships intact. They are strained, but you can keep them. Those with small children, my suggestion is to get them a stuffed animal and explain to them that when you need to work, that stuffed animal is there to hug them until you get back. Keep the communication open with them. They will understand more than what you think they will. And regardless if child, adult, friend, or family, communication is very important and will help lighten some of the downsides to working nights. There's a reason many of us say nights are not for the weak, but there are reasons that we stay. If the bad parts start to outweigh the good parts, then you need to consider what you need to do. Either you can speak to your family and friends, but if it's too much of a strain, you might have to consider going to the bright time. Do what is going to be best for you and your family. Remember that your mental health is as important as your physical and financial health. Now, if anybody out there has any other suggestions or something to add to the difficulties, or maybe something to add to help fix some of the difficulties, to make them a little easier, go ahead and comment them down below. If you have any questions, go ahead and post them also, and all of us will try to answer you. And those who have managed to survive the night shift long term without losing their minds or their relationships, what's one of them non-negotiable boundaries that you set up with your friends, family, or employer? We'd like to hear that. I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to hear this out, and I hope you all stay safe and healthy.